Alrighty, hi folks. It is September 30th, and this is the OpenJS Security Collaboration Space weekly meeting. If you are interested in attending, just go check out the OpenJS Foundation's GitHub, and you'll see the collaboration, the Security Collab space under there. You can find the agenda and all the details. Today we have a couple of items to go over. So the first one is, did I not share that document properly? Okay, let me fix that really quick. I just saw your request. Did that not move it into the location where it should be in public? Oh, I see. That's fascinating. When I copied it, it did not move it into the same location like it usually does. Try now, Ben.
Yeah, that worked. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Now I know what happens when you copy a Google Doc in the iPad app instead of on my desktop. So let's see, what were we saying? So today we got a couple of agenda items to go over. One of them is an update to the SBOM observations and recommendations doc, and also the OpenJS CNA application form. So, excuse me. So let's go over the easy stuff first, which is the OpenJS application form. All right. The actual terms of the disclosure policy itself. So the two big items for feedback were that um, I kind of start within the what we do section. I wanted to use that to manage people's expectations on what the CNA did and what it didn't do. One of my bigger concerns is other folks' experiences and maybe dealing with the Eclipse Foundation or the Apache Foundation, who runs a full-blown central security team that supports all of the projects. And while we do, under the Cyber Tech Fund, provide some levels of support to to projects individually, ultimately we are not responsible for managing their bugs and the like. So I kind of started with like the things we didn't do rather than the things we did do. And Chris's feedback, which was really fair, was to start with what we are and then go to what we're not. So I made those adjustments. I changed some of the language around a little bit as well to tweak those ideas. So if you wouldn't mind kind of checking things out again and seeing what you think, then we can close out this comment and move on. Ulysses would appreciate your thoughts as well. Ben, I'm not sure if you've looked at it, but um, here, let me drop a link for you, and we can, yeah, just wrap that up. The other item here, which is still a to-do action item for me that I'll get to this week, is um, initially my hope was to not have to structure the OpenJS was to not basically create another page listing out all of the projects and links to their disclosure program terms. The reason for that is that's kind of a moving target. And so the original way this was written was to say, go to the standard projects page at the foundation's website, go to that project's GitHub page, and you will see their, like at the main part of their um, GitHub, you will see their security policy. But Chris thought that maybe we should provide a bit more, so I'm fine with doing that. We just have to keep in mind that every like every month or so, we should go through and click those links and make sure they're still accurate. but and make any updates from there as necessary. So I will add that additional page and just have a template created and create another Google Doc to just show what that would look like. But my intention is to just basically say, here's the project. I would organize them by the project status. So like at large, impact, incubating, and list the name of the project, and then list its disclosure policy. Well, there are some risks that some projects have disclosure policies at the individual repo levels, and if that's the case, then we'll see how that goes, and I'll figure out a way to manage that so we're not basically listing out every repo. But yes, shouldn't be a problem and easy to do. Um, and then finally, there was this piece of feedback on refine this language to be more clear on the situation that we're talking about here. And the point of this is to basically say, if there's a vulnerability, if an OpenJS project uses um, has a dependency in it, and that dependency has a vulnerability and has a CVE against it, that doesn't mean we're automatically going to issue a CVE for the OpenJS project just because it uses a dependency that has a CVE. And instead, we would expect that a demonstration of exploitability of that dependency CVE in the context of the OpenJS project. So I can take a quick stab at that to adjust that language. But besides that, I'm looking forward to seeing your all's feedback if you have any other thoughts before we shoot this over for a legal review with OpenJS. So that's all I've got for that one. In regards
Fred,
to, oh, go ahead.
I would just say, like, I think we still, I wrote this down, but I think I still don't really understand like the programmatic aspects of what we need to set up
Mhm.
on our side. So maybe we could work together this week on detailing that out.
That is, let
I think
me
we've got
see.
it as an issue somewhere, but I think it's been open for a while.
That is, let me go to discussions. The list is right here.
Okay.
And yeah, I can create tasks for these.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess like when would we need to have these things set up?
they want these things mostly set up before we have the meeting with them.
Okay.
So we can start working on these now. I think um, the help I would need from you, Ben, is around creating mailing lists and seeing if we could use Google Groups or whatever mailing list system OpenJS uses.
Yeah.
Um, I have been working on, in the background, I've been working on figuring out how to create GitHub pages. Um, it's the instruction, the GitHub documentation is written as confusingly as possible. It makes you feel like a really not intelligent person reading, which should
Hmm.
probably use simple functionality. But
Would we would we want to do this on in GitHub or on the OpenJS website?
um, the idea originally was to do it on GitHub so that we could have a manage the content
Record. Yeah.
via using GitHub's functionality and features. If it's
Okay.
possible to do that with the OpenJS's, like I think it's Vericel's platform, then
Let's just use GitHub.
okay.
Yeah.
The pages will be very simple and straightforward. I just need to well, initially the pages as we put them up just to get it over, just to have the conversation will be very simple. But then what I can do is talk to, I forget her name, the comms person who manages the website, and just get a copy of the template that you all use for the website so that the pages can look the same roughly, if we want to do that. And just update the HTML from there. The only thing that is actually a thing to be aware of here is that we need to create a new repo. Um, and so if I'll with a task there, I will make sure everybody's cool with that and has like documentation that that's approved and all of that before I go and just create the repo. Um, and yeah, that's kind of those are the big things. And once we have that, we can have the conversation with Red Hat.
Yeah, that's great. If you can create those issues, like I'll
Yeah.
do them. Like they shouldn't take a while, and I'm pretty busy. But like if these issues are created and assigned to me, like if I have a spare, I can like just
Mhm.
fit it in.
Will do. Will do.
So
Cool. So yeah, just if you all could just take a look at that, provide any additional, excuse me, take a look at this and provide any additional thoughts and feedback, um, then we can be good to go on that item. Any questions, Ulysses, Chris? Nope. All right. Cool beans. All right. Next item is a JavaScript SBOM and software attestation challenges and feedback. One of the so I did since the last time we talked about this, I went back and one of the things I noticed in the first revision that I did around SBOMs was that there really wasn't a story to provide the context on why the things that we were talking about were important and relevant to the larger SBOM conversation. It was more like, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. So that's fine, capturing those initial ideas. But what I did is I went back and added more context, more public policy context around where these ideas were coming from and why they're important. And then instead of having just a raw list, I created basically a summary section for SBOM just to just to summarize the ideas that are included below. And then I went through the individual issues a bit and I cleaned up the wording so that it um, was better connected to the larger ideas and public policy aspects that I mentioned above. Oh, Mateo provided some feedback recently. That's great. Um, yeah, this is actually a good point. Um, so when yeah, this is somewhat different than the messaging we got from um, Jordan. So I need to reconcile this a little bit. The presence of lock files, he right, does mitigate this to some extent, but the question is whether or not people are actually using those lock files and are capturing them. So correct me if I'm wrong, but lock files are not uploaded as a part of the package to npm. Is that correct? My understanding was they're excluded.
I can respond to that. In some cases, like for example, in Express library itself, we don't commit those files just because we don't want to be super deterministic on the dependencies that you install as the end user. But any project owned by any end user will definitely keep source control and publish the log files for their own end. So only packages are limited to that. So, but that's I think makes kind of sense because the end user, which is the one
Mhm.
that consuming Express, for example, for their own web application, they will anchor the version of the things using the log file. So
Yeah.
in that sense, I think we are covered.
Okay, cool. So yeah, what he's saying in regard to applications is correct, but not library packages. Okay,
Not for
that's I'll
libraries.
yeah, okay, cool. I'll refine this a little bit to oh, I does say JavaScript library package. So I'll go and I'll tweak the language a little bit more to make sure it's clear we're talking about library packages here, since Mateo is an extremely smart person, and if he did misread that, then I'm going to assume that I could write that better. So I'll make that tweak. Um, Steve taught me a new word today, indefinite, rather than deterministic. So I did some language changes. It's a word I don't expect as many people to know what it means, but it is technically more accurate to the situation that we're talking about here. So I just haven't edited this area because I haven't updated the conclusion or recommendation section yet. I worked more on this above here. And I also started working on um, fleshing out the provenance and attestation section a bit more to provide the background context of what the purpose is and what these ideas are exactly around specifically the provenance flag and the specifically around the provenance flag that is included in NPM and the theory around that and the gaps related to it that we've talked about already. So Jordan has put good commentary in here from the last review. And below, like I had originally, there is kind of a review of each of these files and what they mean from in an appendix. I'm thinking of maybe moving that closer to the top, but we'll see how it goes, just so that people see it in context of the S1 conversation rather than going just diving down into the appendix to encounter that. But um, we'll see how the document fleshes itself out. Um, so yeah, um, looking forward to y'all's thoughts on this. This one I expect to finish up pretty quickly based upon feedback and kind of where the direction of the document's going now. So um, yeah, those are the big items just to kind of look over that I have for y'all today. Um, finally, oh, you know what? I did not include another item in here that I should have. Finally, there was one last thing to talk to you all about, and I can update the agenda to include this, and that is the these have the old links, but I can update this to include the new ones. So finally, it is looking over the CVD guides. I moved it from HackMD to GitHub, and we have the three files here. So just to kind of get started, there's the detailed CVD guide. Um, where are the other files? Well, there's the detailed CVD guide here. Um, oh, excuse me. I was thinking of the um, security policies for all the other files. So I'd appreciate you all kind of taking a look through this. Because it is no longer in HackMD or Google Doc, feedback's going to be a little bit harder just to put commentary into it. So what I can do perhaps is to just move this into a Google Doc so that you all can provide some easy feedback and comments there on specific areas if you like. So I'll move this into that so you can take a look and provide any thoughts on phrasing and how things are set up. And that would be awesome sauce um, so that we can just have a bit more refinement on this. Uh, and yeah, the uh, and I'll also do the same for the policies themselves. They seem kind of long, but there's a lot of information in here to just help people be successful rather than being prescriptive around. One of the big points of feedback in the initial versions of these was that I included a lot of a kind of a boilerplate to work off baseline of vulnerability kind of reports that wouldn't be accepted by the program to reduce noise. There was feedback that like we shouldn't do that proactively for teams. So I took all that stuff out and I made it more about managing expectations for how the team, how researchers can expect folks to engage with the team, and to also give the team the project's boilerplate language on like what they expect in terms of the security project itself, excuse me, a security report, and kind of what to expect from a process standpoint that can be easily modified. You know, there's some empty areas here to fill in, but generally the typical standard workflow for a disclosure itself. Ulysses and Chris, especially in the context of Express, love to get your thoughts on getting this over to Express and being used there as a trial balloon, just to see how we can kick the tires on that. So when you do review these, definitely do it in the context of um, Express rather than like more generically, because that would actually be really great insight.
Okay.
And here I will provide a link. Cool. So that is there. Like that's so easy to find. Oh, tree name. It's interesting. Why did I do that? It's just copying that last part. Interesting. Hmm. Okay. All righty. And that's all I've got for today, folks. I appreciate you all dedicating the time offline to just review these things in detail, and I will move the CVD guides into a Google Doc so you can easily just provide ad hoc commentary there. And that is
Wait,
all I have for this one.
before we adjourn,
Oh yeah.
there's a couple things I wanted to get us to think about maybe. So we are at the end of Q3 and Q4 is rapidly approaching, like in a day or two, right? And I think the two things I want to talk about are related. So one thing that's kind of unclear to me currently is we've got we're finishing up essentially a big suite of pretty complicated guidelines for our projects, but the rollout of those to our projects, I think, is something we need to think about. A lot of our projects don't know that this stuff has been happening,
Yep.
probably. Um, and we don't want to blindside them with like 30 pages of like GitHub documentation and be like, implement this, right? So I think
Yep.
that there's definitely something there that I think we need to plan out. And I think it's probably partly a communications plan of, you know, telling folks via the mailing lists and then scheduling some like open houses, right? And then even for us, like prioritizing which projects we want to see completed by the end of the year. And remember, like Q4 is short because December
Mhm.
people are going to start to like go to the go poof. So we've really probably got like 2 months. And the other thing that's semi-related to that is this, we've been kicking around the idea of this dashboard for quite a while. And I know Ulysses had done some work on a dashboard. And I think that will really help us in understanding like the state of where the projects are. And so I think getting that up and running if we can is going to be super useful. So those are the things on my mind.
Yeah. So Ulysses, Chris, I was wondering if maybe if we could set up some time um, this week, next week, for us to go over the um, security compliance guidelines and flesh and fill that template out for Express, that would give us a chance to start out. I can also talk to Jordan about doing that for NVM. And I was thinking about reaching out to John over at Lodash as well, since I already know him, and seeing what that experience is like for an important project with a solo maintainer as well. So I think those are the three that I would prioritize to start. Um, Ulysses and Chris, I'm not sure if that warrants setting up a separate meeting or using an established meeting that you already have on Express.
We can do a, I mean, we have been for a while planning to do like a security working group meetings for Express. So this might be a good enough reason just to kick off the first one, right? So we have like a plenty agenda of that. Also, we are getting very close to release the audit results and so on. So basically, it's a very good moment for us to set up this kind of meeting. So yeah, probably we want to start that next week, like somehow. So yeah, probably we'll ping you on the security working group channel there to see a good daddle or a good time that works for us, and just kick off that meeting if that makes sense.
Cool beans. That sounds great. Thanks,
Okay.
Ulysses. I appreciate that. And I'll take the time to follow up with Jordan and John specifically to set up some time with them. Thankfully, even though the list on the guidelines is long, a lot of those items are going to be very easy to just go through and get a yes really quickly, which is by design. So yeah, I think we'll be able to work through that pretty fast. On the dashboarding front, um, Ulysses, I don't know if you recall, but when we were talking about this, there were kind of two different paths. One was talking about a larger idea of custom dashboards, working with the scorecard folks because they're doing that. But one of the things I was wondering is if what we could do was to just pull down the um, either run the scan. We could run the scan. You already have the ability to do this, to go run the the scorecard scans ourselves, and if we could just have a easy to find list of those things, then which I think is easy for you to do, then we have that. One of the things I was also thinking about is having how we can link that to um, we'll probably have to do it manually at first until there's something automated. But what we can do is we can provide a reference to those results and then also have links to the compliance guidelines assessments that we do. Because that document I imagine will be stored hopefully publicly. And then so we can just have a link like, this project or this repo um, and the link to the scorecard scanner results, and then a link to the compliance guideline worksheet.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I have some, if I recall correct, I think I have some prototype with Docusaurus and stuff like that. So maybe we can mix like Markdown, like a statical Markdown content with some
Mhm.
dynamic content, like the results of the audits and stuff like that. So we can just basically do a GitHub action like every 2 weeks to auto update, for example. So you have like everything there, like dynamic data and static data in the same space, and we can add more projects later on and stuff like that. I mean, we can do the MVP if you want with Express, see how that scale, and try to rise for others, or just try everything and see how that works at the scale. But yeah, definitely, yeah, we have some opportunities there. Yeah,
Cool.
I just to catch up fast, I'm a little bit focused on Express on finishing like the Express audit and helping releases Node.js 23, but after that I'm free, which is going to be like by the end of this month kind of thing. So like the last
Oh,
week of the
awesome.
month or something like that. So I will have bandwidth for this again.
That sounds great. Yeah, I think by then we'll also hopefully have the compliance guideline worksheets done. So we'll have a sense of
Yeah.
what those look like, and we can be thinking about the way to incorporate both of those deliverables together into one nice view.
Yeah,
Doesn't have to be perfect to start, but we'll have made some progress and we'll have an easily referenceable dashboard along the way. Thank you
fantastic.
for reminding us on that, Ben. I appreciate it. Keeping us honest. Cool beans. So the dashboard thing, Ulysses, just keep us up to speed. If we forget, I'll kind of hit you up like fourth week of October and we can take it from there. Okay, cool. Awesome sauce. Um, Anything else? Chris has been really quiet, so I'm not sure if that's good or bad. Chris.
Well, in the meantime, just covering Chris, we have some good news on the Express project. We
Oh,
released our first blog post about security updates. We did like 6 security patches this month. So we basically now, like every month that we have some security patches, which seems to be like a thing right now because we have a lot of packages. So basically the idea is like we public this monthly review of this is what happened aside of, every release and patch. We publish it on Twitter and whatever, but to having like a monthly blog post. So more than welcome if you want to provide us some feedback. It's already published, but I think it's kind of okay. Let me see if I can find the link.
yeah, I did see that. I thought it was really cool.
Okay. Okay, good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, let me set the link to the tweet that you have, like everything. Yeah. So yeah, basically that's the new format, like covering the CPE and the severity and the patches and some notes and the links to stuff and also adding some credit to the people who just raise this or cover that. So yeah, that's basically the plan. Yeah, our biggest challenge is to see like if it's good enough, in terms of I think for developers it's kind of okay, but not very sure if like from the security folks perspective makes sense. So I hope get your feedback on this.
Yeah, happy to take a look in more detail and provide some thoughts. I'll do that.
Okay, okay, good.
Alrighty. Thanks for that update, Ulysses, and bringing that up. Um, let's see. Anything else, folks? All right. Sold American. We're done. Cool beans. Um, Always appreciate your all's attendance here. It's a great core group. And Ulysses, thank you for volunteering your time. I really do appreciate that. And we'll talk more. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime, we'll be in touch this week around setting up time for next week to go over the security compliance guidelines. Alrighty. Sweet jumps. Thank you again, Ben. And